Hello, 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 everyone. Before I even introduce you, Anton, not that I need to introduce you, I just want to say this has been the longest awaited webinar that I planned. You were the first person I planned a webinar with, but it's just taken so long to get here. I'm so excited.
Ye-
Everyone, this is Anton. Finally.
Yeah, yeah, I remember when we agreed. It was not
In
this year. It
November.
was
Yeah.
yeah, November or something. And when they said March, I said it's kind of joke. You're
Yeah.
in November, you're planning March. Yeah, and here we are.
We're
We're in
finally
March.
here. We're finally here. Thanks so much for A, being patient, and B, agreeing to join us on the webinar. Um, thanks so much again. And I think that no one knows this subject better than you do. I believe, based on all the advice you've given me over the years. But before we, rather than just sort of jump straight into things, let's warm ourselves up a little bit. Maybe warm ourselves up. It's only 8 degrees in London right now. I don't know what it's like in Spain. What's it like for you?
It's not much warmer, unfortunately. It's probably like about 10. Okay, there is sunshine if you're in the sun. It's not too bad. But here inside, it's really, really cold. I wanted to put my Duda, because I work for Duda t-shirt. But I said, no, it's just too bloody cold inside.
Yeah,
It's
I
typical
wouldn't want
for
you
cold.
shivering on a
Yeah,
webinar.
but it's typical for hot countries. In the winter, it's because everything is kind of adapted to hot weather, and when it's not hot, it's not good.
And how are things at Duda? It seems consistent adaptations of the platform and cool things going on there.
Yeah, do the it's plenty of innovation. Everything is new. I personally learn Flex. What is Flex Editor? Which is we won't go into it because do they introduce new thing in marketing team. Everyone has to had to give a presentation of some particular feature.
Mm.
Flex Editor get to me, and I play with it, and it's absolutely fantastic. So sometimes
Just you wait.
you should.
You'll be moving to a different department. You'll be a developer next.
I
so
doubt.
so we're here to talk about something which I know that you know like inside and out, and I think that you've come up. Forgive me if I get this wrong, and I really want I want to hear this as well for the I think for probably the first full time. How did you get into the influencer marketing piece? Because you've been doing it since it was cool, before it was called that, really.
It's a long story. So story started with in 2008, fantastically, which I had nothing to do with marketing at that time. In Spain, well, I'm here in Spain
Mm.
again, but I used to live in Spain at that time, Valencia, and I used to have a lunch bar. Believe me or not, please do believe me.
Everyone
And
believes you, always.
yeah, and crisis, if you remember, crisis in
Mhm.
Europe, in Spain was horrible crisis. Like 26% of unemployment. This kind of people didn't really have money, and sometimes we had like four adult guests ordering one gin tonic and sitting all night long with gin tonic because Spanish they do like fiesta. They can't live without fiesta, but no money. So I had to shut it down because we were just losing money, and I went back to Kiev and I have some business proposal there. Now it sounds horrible because, but it was business with Russia at that time. But it was a long time ago. I think it was 2012, or 2013. And but it didn't happen because my dad happened. Our
Mm.
relationship kind of broke, and I basically end up in Kiev and thinking what I'm gonna do right now. So what I decided, I still need to eat and my family still need to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided just, okay, for time being, I will be teaching English and Spanish, believe me or not. And I had a client who was from local marketing and SEO company. And the idea was they were doing all modus operandi was they were doing webinars, and on the webinar, every one who registered, then they call them. They have a plenty
Yeah.
girls on a sale floor, and they try to sell. They successfully selling online courses, online marketing courses in Ukraine. And he decided he wanted to conquer world. He studied English at school some time ago, and so he employed me to refresh his English and do the same, but for the rest of the world, doing webinars in English and just selling them courses in English, which they didn't have. So after a couple of lessons, classes with him, I for myself realized that it would be much easier to teach me something about marketing, do this job, webinar things for him, than to refresh his English in order to be reasonably fluent and just go and do your job, what you're doing right now. So, but I decided I'm not going to tell it to him, because if I tell you something you don't really like, you probably will be against it. And
Yep.
what's the best way to really to kind of infiltrate it? It's just as like leave it on a corner of the table and let it live there. And the person pick it up. Okay, not literally pick it up. Think about it, and think about it, and after that, when he decides it's his idea, people love their own idea, he will just step in and say, look, why don't we do actually exactly happens. After a couple of weeks, he decides his idea, even I kind of put it a couple of times here and there, and he said, look, I thought today, why don't we teach you marketing and you will be doing this job. It's how it all started. Yeah.
And this is where you get to where you are with the cachet of knowledge and influences in your pocket. You could change the course of history.
Yeah, I didn't know absolutely anything. I didn't know anything. So I know I have to do a webinar, and I have to do, like, I can't remember how many webinars a month in order to get that money which I've been promised. And I didn't know anything about influencing, and I just start go around bringing people and everything. And obviously, I learn things. And for example, SEO people love to talk. If you give them a possibility to speak up, especially in a good company, they love it already. And I never paid for speakers, and every speaker who asked for being paid, I said no. It's a matter of principle, and it is a matter of principle. Not that, of course, I understand everyone needs to get money and everything, but if you do free webinars, and you start paying someone. This world is so small; everyone knows everyone. If I start paying, sorry.
No. I mean, this literally ties really closely into, like, a question of mine is, like, it seems like how you would approach someone to influence for you, or how you would like to be approached as an influencer. It's quite important. Like you just say about paying money, and there's a few approaches which that you try and work with, right?
Sure. Okay. When we're talking about influencer marketing, I think there are two major approaches. And because of my SEMrush history, and I used to work for SEMrush for 5 years, I kind of call one approach SEO approach and one approach PPC approach. Starting with PPC approach. Okay, it's very simple. This is a main actually style of influence. When people say influencer marketing, it usually means this PPC approach is this name I invented.
Yeah.
So how it works? You have a product, whatever it is, doesn't matter, and you think this influencer has a right reach, right price probably, and right audience for you. So you ask him or her, even better. Okay, how about I give you product, you create video or whatever you will create, whatever channel works for you. I'll give you that much money, and you will keep this video for, for 20 days. It's how it works, isn't it? Especially on Instagram. or maybe not 20 days. We just put your video 20 times, and this influencer absolutely it has no interest in your product in terms. It might, but generally speaking, it doesn't. It's not affiliate. He doesn't get any commission or anything. He just got your money. He's done his video. He put it on to his audience. That's it. That's how influencer works, as PPC way. And I'm not trying to say it's a bad way. PPC is great. PPC is fantastic. It's very different from SEO, but it works if it works for you. So if you pay, I don't know, $1,000, but I get a profit for 2,000, fantastic. Just scale it up. I work with different approach, which I call SEO approach, and which is very, very different. And how we work. So we work. I try to establish relationship. For example, everyone is influencer, some big influencer, some small. Chris Simmons is a great influencer. And I try to establish...
It's been said here now, for sure, 100%.
And I try to establish a relationship with you. And I try to, in this relationship, it's not trade relationship. It's not that I'm giving you money, you do this. No, of course, everyone needs money. Everyone needs to gain money. So, but we try to establish a relationship with influencer, or we try to push this influencer. So influencer get exposure to, for example, to our audience, was it SEMrush or Duda today, and get something out of it, or this kind of things. Is how we work with influencers. So, and obviously, I can't. When you do campaigns with influencer, when you pay money, you can probably handle many campaigns.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's more transactional, isn't it? It's that you don't have to put too much time in. You know, it's here's the money. Thanks for the influence stuff. With the relationship, you have to remember the conversation you had previously and the time you saw them last and the thing that they like to do.
Which means you can't do that many.
Yeah.
Basically, you might have like 100 influencers, but realistically, with whom you constantly talking or even meeting, it's not that.
The irony here is we have a relationship. We've done some webinars, we've done some events and things like that together. The irony here is the first time I ever met you, you actually gave me money.
Did I? Coin. It was money. It was a coin.
Yeah. So anyone who Anton gives a vintage custom coin to at any point in the future, if you meet Anton and he gives you a coin, expect an email. But I think with the relationship building thing, it makes it stronger, right? So you know that if you personally were to move to another company or your career changes, the relationship can stay if there's a fit. And I think
it usually stays, even if a company is slightly different and so less fit. The thing, it's like SEO. It takes a longer time to get there, but it stays much longer. It's why I like this SEO. Call it SEO. It's nothing to do with SEO.
Well, the principles makes total sense. With PPC, you stop paying, you stop receiving. With SEO, you put the effort in now, and you see the rewards for a longer period of time. So if I'm running a digital agency. So GJ just said it's kind of quid pro quo sometimes when you have when you have that kind of an approach. When you're running an agency, let's say you're running an agency which you want your agency to get better profile. You don't mind going to events. You don't mind speaking at events. Is it a good idea for you as an agency leader or someone in the agency to look for opportunities that may be typically where someone like yourself might be looking for an influencer to take some roles? Where would they start?
Now, of course, if you're running an agency and you have something to say, because many people they talking, and at the end of this, I said I remember every single word. Can't remember what he was saying. So not everyone has something to say, but if you do have something to say, try to use every single opportunity, and it's how I start. And the clever one. Okay, maybe the guys who got already everything that they don't
Mm,
really care, and they only go on very established events or very established webinars or podcasts. But guys who are not that well established, but still good guys, they probably have to go to almost every single opportunity,
mm,
because
mm,
first, why not? Of course, yes, there is a time, and your time kind of costs money. But for example, you're doing some webinar or a podcast with someone not very well known, but you don't know. Maybe
mm,
he and his podcast will be very well known in a couple of years. It's what I think happened to me, to us. When I started, nobody know me, nobody know that company I represent, but I still managed to get very interesting guests, including
mm,
including uh, Bill Slavsky, late Bill Slavsky, including Barry Schwartz, for example, including Rand Fishkin as well. So, and okay, they say, okay, it's worth trying. Who knows? So I think if your agency leader or agency owner
mm.
or whatever, and you have something to say, you have to go to and use every single
Yeah,
opportunity
and I think
and do it.
and I think a lot of that comes in. A lot of agency leaders are quite happy building an agency quietly, building an agency themselves without having to be the loud voice in the room or the voice that's everywhere. Some like to do that, and it works independently for each one of them. And I think that if, like you say, if you want to do this and you want to go to events, you want to speak on webinars, you want to speak on podcasts and things like that, the person that's maybe looking for whoever you are doesn't know who you are or maybe looking for you. So you have to go to them and you have to start conversations and start relationships and things like that. If it's more e-commerce product type stuff, you're likely to get approached if you actually are known in the space because of the product. Um, if you're
Yeah,
running an
but people also buying from people. People,
mm,
okay, yeah, if you establish Coca-Cola, okay, you just grab Coca-Cola and go. It's not emotional. But otherwise, people really buy from people. So if I know you, and I know you're doing this, and I
yeah.
believe you're doing this very well, so I probably will go and buy from you. Even someone is giving me better offer in terms of money and everything. I think, okay, yeah, I know this guy. I know he's doing well. We had a coffee with him. He explained to me. I do understand how
Mm,
he
mm.
thinks, so I probably will stick with him.
That's good. So, where would you like if you're wanting to grow your agency, you're looking to build your business, but you're going to go down the influencer approach, and they've come to you, say for example, or other versions of you in other businesses that work with people who have something to say of influence and of value. Um, where would you? I mean, beyond obviously webinars like this one, where would you put them? What would you do? How would it work? Because it's very easy to say I'm going to be on all of these things, but how do you do it? There's a lot of work that goes into this, isn't there? It's not just a
But
handshaking
you
conversation.
asking me from which point? From me,
From
who is
from from your
working.
perspective, working with influencers, but also so you put a lot of work in and decide where they should go, what should be best for them. And if I wanted to use influence as a marketing tool, so I speak at events, I go to this, I do this, etc. Um, where what are the best ways for you, Anton, the person that marionettes the influencers? Where would you put people? What do you find works best?
Okay, first, I'll say something always. Your clients would be the best influence for your product, if you have a product.
Yeah,
Always, if you have no clients, no product, it doesn't it doesn't work. But for example, when I work for SEMrush, obviously SEMrush was and still is one of the leader of the SEO tools, and it was much easier. A lot of people wanted to be associated with SEMrush, so you can use these people, but always before using these people, even you know, with company like SEMrush, you're in a position of strength. With Duda, it's much less strength, I have to say. Even you in a position of strength, you still have to find a way of good cooperation. So what people can get out of you as well. I know
Yeah.
you've done and you will be doing more webinars with Ross Tavendale, and
Hmm.
believe me or not, but his first webinar was my webinar. Yeah,
And he influenced me to talk to you.
okay, see, influencer everywhere. So he's done a presentation, Killing the Giants. I can't remember how many years ago it was that, but it was about an SEO world. A smaller company can beat bigger one because more agile and do some works and everything. And his first Brighton SEO speech was exactly Killing the Giants. So modernized and make it better, but and it make him famous, or kind of famous. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't make him famous, but we kind of push him, and because he was so good, so he just jump and go to Brighton SEO. And after that, and we had with him a series. I can't remember. Was it videos? Can't remember what was name. It was some time ago. It was short video. Ross Tavendale explained. We put it on a SEMrush blog. This kind of thing. I'm not really sure I'm answering your question. Am I?
No, I think you are. I think so. Let's say, for argument's sake, you've got three influencers that you work with as Anton, live stream guy from Duda. Now, there's lots of different places you can put them that makes more value from them, but there's lots of different things that that they would want to say. Now, sometimes you're going to have to say to them, "You're not going to be very good on a webinar, but you'd be great if you wrote an article. You'd be great writing an article, but I don't want an article. I want you on a podcast." How do you have those kinds of conversations? Because I know from experience the only reason that I've had 78 episodes of my podcast recording is because it is audio only. So I've had to say to some people, you can come that you want to do these things, but I've made it more comfortable for you to be good at what you do by being available.
You try to make them comfortable, and some people are not for webinars, or some people are not natural born. Some
Yeah.
people are, or some people can learn and can get better. So yes, some people are not very good. You don't use them for webinar. You use them for podcast if you do have a podcast, or you move them for someone else podcast. Or you ask them, okay, look, how about writing an article and everything, but always they writing an article, if it's a full scale article, usually involves money because it's like 6-8 hours of work and everything. A podcast is much less. So for example, I have to be absolutely honest, I haven't been prepared for this one, so just jump in and
That's the point. It's
and I hope
beauty.
it works.
This is the beauty. This is why we. This is so. I love running these in a nice kind of conversational way, because it means that, like, we're not preparing like fake statements, or we're not fake. Making it. It feels more authentic to to get it wrong and to talk about stuff in a different way without preparing. And I think that there's some. I think you can do quite from this point of view in terms of where you would put influencers. I think if you're looking at growing your agency, you want to get out there. Say, let's use Ross Tavendale as a great example, because he's brilliant when he speaks at events. He really knows what he's talking about, but also he knows where he wants to go, because he knows where he's going to be have the most benefit for his business. So if I want to use influence as a marketing tool for myself, for my business, and become in inverted commas, an influencer for my business, I need to know that the best place for me is speaking on a stage at an event, or and the things that I can control are my own things. So I obviously have my own podcast and so on. But if I want to speak on other people's content, then I need to go to them and say, hey, you're running an event, pitch for the event. That's great. If you have a relationship with an organization that wants you to be on their posters, then that's a totally different level of influence, which everyone wins. And a bit like what GJ said, there's a quid pro quo there. You know, you get on their posters and you get new clients, but you also produce an awful lot of content which help them get new clients. And I think if I'm running, if I want to use influence as a marketing tool for my business, then I need to be in the right place, just like all marketing efforts.
Yeah, but what you said, you want to use yourself as an influencer and for your own business. Fantastic. Ross Lavendel is a great example. Even was anecdotic situation. I can't say which, but very famous American-based SEO conference wanted him really. They asked me a couple of times to talk to Ross, and so Ross would be there. They said Ross would be fantastic for that, and he said he doesn't want to do that. And he also said
it's because it wouldn't have been a fit for him, for the business, or for the clients, or something like that. And I think
it's
you know
what
where you want.
he thought. It's what he thought. I'm not that sure, but it's what he thought. Yes.
So, if you've got an influence in an area, in a space, because you really love it, but you've got a very small, a quiet voice in the large crowd, especially in digital agency space and digital marketing. Everyone's got a loud voice and everyone's got an opinion. Is it better from the perspective of like yourself, if you're looking for someone to do some influencer work with Duda, is it better for you to have someone who is much bigger and well known but doesn't really understand or give a damn about the product, or is it better to have someone who's got a smaller audience but really gets it and understands and kind of loves the space that they're in?
Yeah, product is a separate matter. It depends what we want to do. I always wanted to write on my wall, but we're renting now, so I'm not really sure. I'm going to do in a rented flat. I write only work with people who see the value working with you. I think it's extremely important because I work with some bigger people, with some smaller people. I want to put inverted commas because
Yeah, we know what
sometimes
we mean in
yeah,
terms
yeah,
of the
okay.
reach
So
and the spread. You know,
yeah, and sometimes you're working with a bigger or girl, doesn't matter, woman, doesn't matter, a huge person, and you say, okay, let's do this, and you understand this person. Okay, for some reason he agrees or she agrees, but doesn't really want to do that, and usually it's all ended up in some kind of mediocre things, and it would be so much effort. So I try to avoid it unless, because obviously I'm employed, unless I'm ordered to do that. But otherwise, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this. Obviously, if you find influencer who can only influence his dog, this is not great either.
yeah.
But he might grow up. Who knows? So I would try to make a balance. But first thing, I think if someone doesn't see value to working with you, and you cannot really show him or her this value, then it's probably lost case. I wouldn't recommend to. Yeah, of course, everyone wants to have John Mueller. Yeah, but it's generally won't go to everyone. As first,
No.
it's sometimes it's probably you go to stick with people with maybe less known influencer, but first who knows their stuff, which is important because sometimes you bring someone and he's just talking and no one really give a shit what he's saying. Can I say shit?
You did twice, so it's good. It's fine. We don't.
Yeah.
This is part of the fun of unscriptedness, and if
Yeah.
anyone has a problem with it,
You
you
can
can,
later put it.
yeah, we'll do that
Yeah.
on the post edit. But you know,
Yeah.
I've had a cool question on Twitter from Andy, and I actually I've seen this a lot recently, that there's lots of agencies that like are influencer agencies. Um, Lots of agencies like to add new services in order to sell more products, more services, more stuff. So Andy, I think, saying that they've seen lots of agencies offering it as a service. So should I add it to my agency? What do you think there?
Okay, they probably here talking about this what I call PPC agency. So they have that database or whatever it is, database of influencer who can do things for that money, and they can check their audience. There are plenty of agencies like that. So if you do that, if you know what you're doing, and if you can do it for the right price, of course, Andy, go for it. Why not? Everything. It's like an agency doing SEO and don't do PPC. For why? Why they don't do PPC? Because they have no people who knows PPC. If they do have someone who knows PPC very well, of course, go for it. Do it.
Yeah.
It just take extra money. As the same as I remember we talking with you, and I was asking, is it easier the SEO PPC agency to persuade to do web design? We don't know, but
Yeah.
if you know what you're doing, if you know how you're gonna do it, of course, go for it. It's extra money, and it's more. It's probably extra service. You can bring more client. You bring a client. You bring client for your influencer service, as this client after that take your SEO, PPC, content marketing, and coaching as well.
Yeah, and I think if it, so, my advice, Andy, on this is if you don't understand it, don't offer it. One, two is you need to be able to deliver it properly, whether you understand it or not, and it does depend on the type of influencer. And I think you're like Anton said, it's like someone with a database style type thing, which is fine. So what I typically advise agencies, Anton, I don't know if we've spoken about this before, is that you kind of can niche in two ways. One would be to niche to a specific industry and only offer, like, you can offer loads of different services, but to one type of industry. Or you can offer one type of service to basically any industry. So only SEO to anyone. Or SEO, PPC, influencer, social media, etc., to hair care or something like that. Now, I would argue that if you're running an agency which is niched into a sector or an area or an expertise, then it's probably valuable to add influencer marketing as a service, because you know that area well enough to understand that the influencer would have an impact. If you just add it to a service as a full service agency that services everybody, you're probably going to have a lot of headaches, because you have to pay these people usually upfront, and you don't really understand whether that person will actually help sell the product or the service that your client may be asking for. I think it's quite hard to answer without any more detail on that. But I reckon, do it if you know how to do it and you can do it. There's no reason not to, but don't do it if you're doing it for all sectors, I think. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think one of the key things which I've learned, and I've learned this the hard way a little bit over the years, is it has to be a fit both ways, and whether it's the product or whether a love for the product, or a love for the business that you're doing the work with. Now, I don't know what your feelings are on this, but would you, if you went for the PPC approach, for example, would you be comfortable paying an influencer who really hated your product but loved taking your money?
Well, hated is a strong word. If someone hates your
Very much
product,
disliked your product.
I would never do it. Obviously, with SEO influencer approach, you only try to use influencer who loves your product or who will love your product. If, for example, SEMrush was really easy because it was all SEO people. Most of them, they use SEMrush because they know how to use SEMrush. And some of them, they didn't like it. Not everyone likes everything. Some of them prefer Ahrefs, for example, or something else. And it was absolutely no point, from my point of view, try to persuade them and everything. So no, just go for people who loves your product. And it's much easier, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GJ, another good point from GJ just there is if it doesn't feel good for you as the person running the influencer, don't go there. And I think the same point goes to, like, if I was asked to do a webinar or a podcast or speak at an event for a company which didn't feel like it was a fit for me, whether it not necessarily the audience, but maybe the business or the product or the service, then it isn't. You're never going to do your best for those people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think you try to find the influencer who likes your product, or or you introduce a product and he likes or she likes the product and loves the product, and you after that you convert him into personal friend, hopefully, and to brand advocate, because you'll never convert someone in a brand advocate if he hates your product. Yeah, okay, he can do it for money. I remember. I think as an old Charlie Chaplin movie, but not the old, not the little guy. I think it was kind of late-ish, and the guy was advertising a cognac or brandy or something like that. And so they explain everything. He's an old actor or something like that. So they explain it to him. They say, okay, you have to take a glass and just make it very. And he's done it, and he's just doing it. And like that.
Yeah.
So it's exactly. Sorry.
You did actually do
like
it.
that. So if I can't digest your product, I'm not gonna be good influence. Just to help.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the fit has to go many different ways. So I have this this saying which I use an awful lot, and I say it when it comes to things that are almost certainly around influencer marketing. Is it fun? Is it a fit? Is there a fee, or do you flee? And you don't do whatever it is that someone might be asking just because it's fun. If it's you do it because it's fun because you want to do it. It might have other benefits, which is great. It might be lovely to do, and you might have a great time. You might travel somewhere, which is brilliant. So yeah, is it a fit? Am I going to be speaking or doing or behaving in some way that helps me get the outcome I'm looking for with the audience I'm trying to get in front of, or something like that? If there's a fee, the chances are it's a product-based PPC style influencer type thing, and it has to be a fit. If it's not a fit and you're taking money, it's not that ethical sometimes, I think. And if none of those things are in place, you flee, you run away, you say no, thank you, it's not for me. And I think the same thing goes when in the digital industry specifically. There's a lot of speak at this thing, do this thing for exposure, and that does work if it's a fit or it's fun.
Yeah, of course. If you're known to hate this product and you decide, what the hell, for money I'll do it, and for exposure, sorry, you go somewhere and you done a conference, and people will think, well, you kind of go down in your influence. For example, it's interesting that most of great influencers are not affiliates. This is my finding, and they don't want to be affiliate. Why? Because if you're affiliate, it's kind of clear. You're affiliate, you got money, you can say whatever you are. And if you're not affiliate, you're still neutral, and your opinion still is opinion, not influenced by money.
And you're totally right. And in a similar way, so with the OMG Center, we have 53 partner businesses. All of them offer something for a digital agency, from like legal support through HR, software, all of those things. And unless I've been directly told you can't put us on this website without it being an affiliate agreement because of their rules around acquisition from channels and things, which is only one. Every single one of them is there without a charge, without a fee, and without any payback or referral fees or anything like that. Because that way, I can say out loud and confidently, the right people are offered these services, rather than the people that have paid me the most money, should we say? Now, when you're trying to influence people, if if you see some of these influencers, absolutely 100% certain that they're being paid for that. It only really impacts the people who don't understand how this works, which is a lot of people, obviously. And that's why, massive celebrities get paid lots and lots of money to be shown drinking a bottle of water on the side of the street. But if you understand how this all works, if they're holding their bottle and they've got the logo perfectly out the whole time and they're like this, then you know that it's kind of faked, and lots of people will know that with the whole I don't know if you see it in Spain. There's this drink called Prime, I think it's called, and I don't really understand why it's so popular. Apparently, it tastes terrible, but I fell into the influence trap and drank it because if everyone's talking about it, everyone became an influencer to this one product, and I think that it's very easy to do that. And if you're taking money, it might not be the best fit for you in the long term because the money could go.
Yeah, always depends on devil lives in detail, how much money and everything. If you're huge influencer and you just now trying to monetize, maybe that doesn't matter. But if you're still trying to achieve things, you probably should be very careful.
Yeah, I've had one question here from Sarah. I'm going to say Sarah. If you've got no budget, are there ways to use influencers? Now, I'm guessing that goes back towards your relationship end of the scale.
Yeah, and obviously, remember I said, for example, SEO people, if you ask them right question, if you put them in right webinar room or room just with the right people, they like to talk, they love to talk, and you can exploit it, for example. And you don't have to pay them. Of course, some of them they would, but you always can find the great guys and girls or women who would be very good. If we're talking, because we're still talking about webinar influencer marketing tool. So, and if you're talking about slightly more on this, you manage to get first reasonably big influencer and on your series of webinars, if you're talking about webinars. And after that, you can try to exploit what I call gallery things. So you have one guy famous, and after that, you go to someone say, okay, Gary already was on my webinar. People say, yeah, Gary was on your webinar. Yeah, probably will do another one. And when you have like 3 or 4 or 5, it is gallery. You go to someone say, okay, yeah, see those guys been here. What about you? So of course, I
Yeah,
want
I want
to
in. I
be.
want in, and
Yeah,
that
of
hasn't
course.
cost you any money necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so coming from two perspectives, because you are an influencer in your own right, so you can answer this in two ways. So, as someone who works with influencers, what would be one piece of advice you could give to people who want to use influencer marketing for themselves?
We're talking about influencer marketing, or we're talking about webinars for influencer marketing.
Webinars for influencer marketing. But if
Uh,
you're running webinars, what one piece of advice would you give someone who wants to come onto your webinars or other people's webinars to run influencer marketing themselves?
Okay, about webinar, my main piece of advice, not necessarily influencer marketing, but webinar, answer yourself very honestly why you're doing this webinar. Because doing webinars is easy. You using StreamYard, it's probably $40 or $50 a month, and it's all easy, very intuitive, and everything. So nowadays, almost everyone can do a webinar. Why are you doing this webinar? And if you have no answer or too many answers, you're probably doing something wrong. You probably should stop here and really answer yourself why you're
Yeah.
doing this webinar. So, for example, when I'm doing webinars before and today for Duda, my main goal, even Duda push me all the time to say, okay, how about selling things and everything? My main goal is influencer marketing. So I want to bring someone influencer, and I want to give this influencer audience and a little bit extra fame and everything. And sometimes I want to put some some more people, maybe less known, and make a connection. And it always look in I said in our webinar room, there were a lot of people who met for first time, and after that they have a friendship or business things and everything. And now always it lives well outside of this webinar, and I'm not really involved in it, but it always helps. People
Yeah.
always remember when they met and how it happened, all these kind of things. So it always helps. Look, I forgot your question.
No. So I mean, the question was one piece of advice, and I think that realistically, your answer was a version of advice. I think that you, if you ask yourself, should I be on this webinar, or why am I doing this webinar? The question is realistically not what should I or what am I doing on this webinar. It's should I put what's the end point? What's the point of me doing this? And it's not necessarily right now. It's what am I trying to do this for? It may well be that you're doing a smaller webinar for a business with a very narrow audience like the OMG Center, and that is something which you do, which helps you and helps the OMG Center. But you also then that can be something which helps you get seen to be picked for Duda webinars in the future by other that you run, or SE Ranking do webinars and things like that. And I know that those sorts of things all nice and they tie together. You're seen
Or
in one place doing,
Digital Olympus, for example. Digital Olympus
yeah.
just started doing things.
There we go. And I think that's, my advice is if you really want to use webinars for influencer marketing, like you say, you need to go to people you have a relationship with already, that have some presence, that have something to say, and they give a damn about what they're going to say. They actually care enough. And then, like you say, the gallery approach means that every time you do the next one, someone else will want to be on it.
Definitely, yeah. It always work because we're doing at the end of the month. Sorry, I'm trying to be shameless speak. We're doing
Do.
webinar at the end of this month, 29th of March. We're doing it with surprise with Bing. And obviously on Bing AI.
It's gonna be a big
We're
one,
doing
yeah.
this with a basically highest ranking Bing engineer, Fabrice Canel. I think his title is slightly different, but yeah, it's Mr. Bing
Mr. Bing.
Bot. Mr. Bing Bot, we call him. Among friends. So he will be, and Barish was agreed to host it. Lily Ray and Dwayne Forrester will be there as well. You won't believe how many people, when I just publish it on Facebook, how many friends just say, why didn't you ask me to be on this webinar? Yeah, well, but obviously you can't have 20,000 people on a webinar.
But those people will be on things that are ideal for them maybe later.
Yeah, sure. Someone said, "Why didn't you put me?" And you always did answer, "Yeah, we should have another one. This one is already complete. You can't. Everyone understand. You can't put 20 people on a webinar. So you have to use. If people wants to do it, sometimes you have to use it, and sometimes you have to do a webinar. And the only reason you're doing a webinar, you want to please this person." And I think if this person is very important for you, very important influencer, I think it's very legitimate answer. Even if my boss hear it, I probably will be fired for this. Joke.
Thank you so much for coming on, giving so much away as well. One thing which I hope you don't mind me plugging beyond the Duda Bing webinar, for anyone watching now or anyone watching in the future, you put an awful lot of effort in the community, and the community love you. But also you love looking after cats and dogs. And if anyone wants to help Anton support the animals that are displaced or having trouble with, the war that's going on in Ukraine, I don't want to get into too much politics for obvious reasons because that's not what the webinar is about, but really easy. Go to omg.center/cats, dogs, Anton, and you can donate like a cup of coffee essentially to help Anton help these fantastic people who are doing a great job in a horrible situation.
They were doing this job before the war, and they were relying on the people's money as well. But obviously, people had slightly more money, less trouble, and everything. And cats and dogs, they still, whatever happens, they still need to eat.
They still need
And
support, yeah.
yeah.
So if
And
you can and if you want to, here you go.
yeah,
There's the link,
thanks. It
everybody.
would be fantastic because at the beginning of everything, it was so easy. People were so open because it was new things, big things, and of course, audience is kind of what this is your audience, and everyone donated. After that, okay, you maybe can come down in half a year or something like that. You can't ask people to donate every week, even
Yep.
$5 for a cup of coffee. But cats and dogs, they still want to eat.
Agreed. Thank you so much for coming on, Anton. Thank you. In the next webinar, everybody, we're going to have the person we talked about the most on this webinar. So Ross Tavendale is going to be joined by Mindy Gibbons-Klein and myself. We're going to be talking about thought leadership, which is quite closely connected to the webinar for influencer marketing stuff. I think personally, the word thought leadership is often misunderstood, and everyone thinks they're one because they spoke at an event once, or they did SEO in 2005 or something like that. But Mindy's gonna give us the full rundown of really what one is, how to be one seriously, and how to make it work for your agency, because it's not just about getting more clients. It might be, if you're a really well-renowned thought leader in the industry, you'll find it a lot easier to hire people. You look at some of these people who know a lot about JavaScript SEO. So look at Bartosz, for example. That whenever he puts a job ad out, I bet you his inbox is full in minutes, because he's a thought leader in the industry and people follow him to know what to do. So join us on that next webinar. And again, thank you so much for coming along, Anton.
I highly recommend to join. Ross is absolutely fantastic. The only thing I want to say, he used the same picture 5 years ago.
Don't tell him. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.